hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna finish a video with the entire history of Rome. Yeah, we're at the beginning of the Empire, the Roman Empire. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. We're at Augustus' grasp to the power to become
by the
emperor.
Senate, or whatever is left of it after a campaign of revenge and bloodshed for what a few of them did to Caesar, he is named Augustus, which means all kinds of fancy things. And since this day, in the year
exactly?
27 before Christ, yes, all of this happened before the man himself even spawned in, the Roman Empire is officially born. Or wait, I mean, Empire is officially born. Man, I'm getting hungry. We're at the halfway point now, so best to take a short break. Do you want pizza?
Yeah,
No, like literally for game,
yeah,
you choose
pizza,
but you add Dominus pizza, it is it. Sponsoring in any of these continents. But why lead to Rome? Which is actually true, unless you live in any of these continents. But why do they lead to Rome?
Streets.
Well, that is because Rome, in its empire phase, started to learn how to stabilize instead of endlessly expanding, like for example the Mongols used to do. That is also
why... Which is the one point why they are remembered throughout history so incredible, because they managed to build a like a state. Not they called on, not really like exactly how we imagine today, but they were a state with with streets, justice system, management systems. Yeah, and I think this is the reason why they endured so long.
Their empire fell apart so quickly, while Rome managed to survive way longer. Anyway, eyes on me please, as we continue our story as we enter Rome's golden age. Rome has become very quickly a fully centralized empire, and Augustus, the first emperor, is the reason it doesn't immediately collapse again. The key thing to understand about Augustus is that he is not trying to be impressive, he is trying to be permanent, and to be...
Which is like, we just learned that's the thing the consuls didn't wear. They didn't think really that long term. They were more focused on their successes within the year. They have the power. So we had a lot of just going into war to get victories and get glory. But I mean, Augustus can now plan for a lifetime, because he plans to be emperor for life. I mean, at this point, we are not at the point where one emperor gets killed after another within months or years. And yeah, he built, I think, the foundation of the Roman state. I think without Augustus, the Roman Empire wouldn't have been the remarkable thing we have today.
Because of that, he might be the single greatest emperor to ever exist. He knows exactly why the Republic failed. It wasn't because Rome lacked laws or values or tradition. It failed because the army stopped belonging to the state and started belonging to individual men.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, because the army gets paid by the generals, and generals like Caesar were really victorious and made a lot of money on their war. Paid the man pretty great, and they were truly loyal to him. So if he goes to Rome and seizes power, he has the support of his army. And that happened, I think, a few times before, and he had to get rid of that, decentralize or even, yeah, I don't know how he's going to do it, but pay the soldiers by the state, not by the generals.
The civil war, from Marius to Sulla to Caesar, followed the same pattern. Soldiers fought for generals, not for Rome. So Augustus fixes that first. He turns the Roman army into a professional standing force. No more temporary legions raised for single wars. Soldiers now enlist.
Which is, I think, another of their success factors, that you have a standing army that is not only always there when you need it, but also fully trained, fully equipped by the state. I mean, in like medieval times, the armies, for example, that's only my knowledge, had to buy their weapons themselves, equip them themselves, and go to war. But here you have a army that is trained, is paid regular, and is always perfectly, it has systematically so much benefits than a newly formed army. So I think that's one other key factor that secures their military dominance for
roughly
the years
20
to come.
years. They receive regular pay from the state, standardized equipment, and a guarantee retirement package. Land grants come from the government, not from a general promising rewards if his rebellion succeeds. This one change alone removes the main fuel for a civil war. Augustus also limits how much military power any single governor can control. Provinces with
Also
large
so smart.
armies are separated from provinces with large wealth. No one gets both. Generals are rotated, commands are time limited, and loyalty flows upwards, not sideways. Rome now maintains around 25 to 30 legions, roughly 150,000 professional Roman soldiers,
That's a
backed by
lot of.
at least as many auxiliary troops, permanently
I
stationed
don't know what the
across the
auxiliary
empire.
term
This
means.
is expensive, but it gives Rome something it never really had before: a standby response unit. On top of that, Augustus changes Roman war strategy. Instead of endless expansion, Rome now focuses on
So
securing
smart.
the
Yeah,
borders.
secure the borders at rivers, at strategic points, build port cities there, station armies there. Don't overextend your power because you don't have the reach, the logistics, the supplies, the support of the people there, which is incredibly smart. I mean, Augustus, from what I hear, the only smart ideas. Probably
Spain
that's
is
why
fully pacified after decades of resistance.
remembered.
The Alps are conquered to eliminate raiding routes into Italy. In the Balkans, rebellions are crushed and the Danube becomes a hardened frontier. In the east, Augustus
The Rhine, I
avoids
think,
full-scale
also.
war with Parthia. He uses diplomacy and pressure to recover Roman standards lost in earlier defeats. He presents this as victory to the public,
I mean,
even though
this is
no
a time where
major
you need some military victories, and to turn such stuff into propaganda is, I mean, the way to go. Better than um, have battles you don't need or war you don't need, and have stuff like that.
war
Superior
was
power,
fought.
and
It
you
shows how
can't
the
lose
emperor
that.
really tries to keep the empire alive. But that doesn't mean the wars stop. Along the Rhine and
Germans?
Danube, Roman
Yeah.
legions are
Ah, yeah.
constantly active.
I think it will
Forts are
change
built
with the
every
Rhine.
few
I think
kilometers.
Germany
Roads
will
connect
conquer
them
that now.
so troops can move
Or-
quickly. These
stop
regions
them.
were anything but peaceful, and because of that, it actually had soldiers living there permanently. In 9 AD, 3 Roman legions march into Germania under the general Varus. They are ambushed by Germanic
pretty
forces
famous in
led
Germany.
by
We get
Arminius,
taught it
a
in
former
school.
Roman ally trained in Roman warfare. The legions
Yeah,
are
and not only ally. I think he was born in Germania as the son of some tribe chief or stuff like that, and then he was took by Rome or to go to Rome. I don't know, a hostage or like a just exchange to closen the relationship between like a chief and the Roman Empire. But yeah, he went to Rome, got trained, and then came back and decided, I'm German. I'm gonna fight for my people, not for Rome.
wiped out
Which is
almost
happening then.
completely in the Teutoburg forest. Mind you, that is 20,000 professional soldiers, dead just like that. How could a general
By
fumble
some
so badly?
barbarians.
Well, let's take a look at the traitor, Arminius. Arminius knows Rome better than most Romans do. He grew up around them, served in their army, earned their trust, and learned exactly how legions move, fight, and
Which
think. He knows their
is so smart
discipline,
for
he
him,
knows their confidence,
powerful.
and most importantly, he knows their
weaknesses.
biggest weakness.
Yeah.
Romans assume everyone
Fear?
wants to
No,
become
fear is
Roman.
German
But
weakness.
back home, where Arminius is from, Germania, Roman rule doesn't feel like order, it feels more like suffocation. Roman courts replace local customs. Roman law overrides tribal authority. Taxes are imposed. Obedience is expected. What Rome calls civilization, Arminius sees as the slow erasure of everything his people are. To him, Germania isn't being conquered by the sword anymore, it's being absorbed quietly, permanently. And Arminius understands that once Rome finishes that process, resistance will be impossible. So he decides this is the moment. He doesn't rebel openly. That would fail immediately. Instead, he stays loyal on the
But
surface.
I'm not sure if he. I mean, I don't know the full history, but I think he wasn't planning all along to betray them. But he went there back, and then he got back to his people, and then he came to the idea to rebel. Oh yeah.
To Varus,
I don't know if it's
Arminius
true.
is the
That was
perfect
my
Roman ally.
memories.
Calm, cooperative, warning him about small uprisings that supposedly need to be dealt with. He convinces Varus that Germania is already under control, that this whole operation is just going to be a routine cleanup. Varus believes him. The legions move as if they are on administrative duty. not a military campaign. They marched stretched out, hauling wagons, supplies, and even civilians through terrain they don't understand. Forests close in.
Yeah, they're basically a long line. I mean, they're drawn out to like kilometers of people in like rows of two because it's so narrow. In the forest terrain with deep forest around them, and this is exactly what Aminos hoped because the Germanic people know the terrain, they know the area, and they can attack from the forest and then draw back into the forest. And
Roads
this
disappear.
is was
Rain turns to
it's so
paths.
and it's so long the line of Roman soldiers that they attacked in the front, the back end won't recognize or other way around. So you have attacks all over the place, but the whole army isn't aware what's happening.
To mud. This is no place for Roman formations, and Arminius knows it. Then the attacks begin. Not a battle, a slaughter. Germanic fighters strike from the forest, disappear when the Romans try to respond, and then strike again, harder. Because the legions are strung out for kilometers in narrow terrain, units can't form up and orders don't travel. Roman discipline still exists, but there is nothing to apply it to. Rome is used to fighting on open ground, one army facing another, not conga lining through the dense forest while being dismantled piece by piece. Varus hears reports of attacks, but doesn't react decisively. He hesitates, assuming it's just minor banditry causing delays. He keeps pushing forward, believing the situation can still be managed, but it can't. Over several days, the army collapses. Units are isolated, officers are killed. By the time Varus realizes this isn't unrest but a full betrayal, there is no army left to save. More than 20,000 career soldiers are dead because of his blindness. Varus takes his own life.
I really enjoy that they're doing such a deep dive into this topic because I mean, as a German, that's like perfect because that's in Germany, it's such an important thing, or had been, because Arminius, also called Hermann in German, Arminius was his Roman name. It's they say Hermann was his name. Was in the 1800s and 1900s beginning come back when we had the founding of the German nationalism and the empire. Thank you, bless you. We had where were I? Yeah, they were pushing him to be like a national hero for the Germans, who pushed out the invading Romans and built statues of him and legends of the Germanic tribes as the forebearers of Germany and beating empires like Rome. So he became a really huge figure in German historiography.
To Rome as the man who lost 3 legions without ever fighting a proper battle. The Germanic tribes, Rome's barbarians, slip out of Roman control, thanks almost entirely to Arminius. The legions number 17, 18 and 19 are never used again, forever locked away with Rome's unresolved traumas. More importantly, because of this, Roman policy changes permanently. Augustus abandons the idea of conquering Germania. The Rhine becomes the frontier. Rome stops pushing outward and commits fully to defense.
Like
this decision defines the empire's borders for centuries. It was time for solidifying ground and making sure no silly little man would start a world religion. Spoilers. When Augustus dies in 14 AD, he leaves behind something unprecedented. A Roman state that is stable, defensible, and no longer tearing itself apart. His actions single-handedly were the foundation of the Golden Age. Now, before we continue with emperors and wars, it's worth stopping for a moment and looking at what living in the peak of Rome's golden era was really like. For the average Roman citizen living inside the empire, especially in Italy or a major province, life is structured in a way that is rare for the ancient world. Cities have paved roads, stone buildings, aqueducts, public baths, markets, courts, and written laws. Grain distributions keep large populations fed. Trade.
I mean, another point of success because there's such. I mean, if you see, I've seen the movie Monty Python, Life of Brian. There's like the scene of the Palestinians asking what have the Romans ever done for us, and then they're counting. Everyone is counting up. Oh yeah, we have the streets and the sewage system and the peace and the logistical system, and you know what? They brought so many things and stability for your country. You don't have to fear your neighbors because you have like a someone protecting you, like the state of Rome. And there were a lot of benefits, so people don't really have a reason to want to get out of Rome, especially because Rome let their regions great amount of autonomy. Autonomy. You know what I mean? In terms of religion and culture, they were allowed to have their own gods and their own cultures in a certain boundaries. But yeah,
It moves freely across thousands of kilometers. Most people are not wealthy, many live modestly, and slavery is widespread and brutal. But there is stability. If you are inside the empire, you live within a system that absorbs shocks. Famine, crime, and violence exist, but there is an administration to respond to them. Now compare all of that to the average person outside of the empire, often labeled a barbarian by Roman writers.
which is
Most of these
I mean
societies
also a bit propaganda,
are rural
but
and
by
decentralized.
Rome. But yeah,
Political authority depends on the person. There are no standing armies, no long-distance infrastructure networks, no permanent bureaucracies. Life is harder, but more flexible. Taxes are lower, but protection is limited. When something goes terribly wrong, there are no larger systems to intervene. This
I would
contrast
prefer
matters,
actually, if I
because
live in
for
this time, I
centuries,
would
Rome
take Rome 100 times because
doesn't just
it has so many
defeat and
benefits.
fight these peoples, it also attracts them. Roman service offers pay, Roman cities offer security, Roman citizenship offers legal rights. Many people outside of the empire don't want to destroy Rome, they want access to what it provides. And that will matter later. For now, it's time for the next emperor to take power. Spin the wheel of misfortune!
Not great odds.
Wait,
Austria, another good one.
Oh, this thing is definitely rigged.
Tiberius?
Meet the adopted son of Augustus, Emperor Tiberius.
Tiberius,
He's
yeah.
a capable guy, an
That's one
experienced
of the
guy,
few
but
I
most
know.
interestingly, an extremely introverted guy who is deeply suspicious of literally everyone and hates
Not
being
good
in
for an
public.
emperor.
From the day he took the role as emperor, which he
Introverted.
essentially got forced into by Augustus, he didn't do anything too radical. He simply kept himself secluded, to the point he abandons living in Rome and moves to the island of Capri, where he reigned the empire from there. That was a little bit of a
Yeah, we got the
mistake, since there was
power
no one in
vacuum
Rome anymore to
in
enforce
Rome.
orders directly, though it did come in handy for the Praetorian Guards.
Ah,
who
there we
were
go. I
originally
mentioned them in
created
an
by
early video. I
Augustus
didn't remember
as
the
an
name.
elite protective unit.
Yeah, I think they gain a lot of power in the next few years, if I remember
These
correctly.
soldiers are heavily armed, permanently stationed in Rome, and loyal not to the state, but to the emperor personally. Problem is, with Emperor Tiberius living on an
He's
island,
living his
the
life.
Praetorian Guard commander becomes one of the most powerful men in the city. He controls access to the emperor, filters information, and increasingly influences decisions. Behind the curtains of Rome, power is no longer flowing through institutions, and the Senate is always seen as a joke. The never-ending corruption has begun.
Yeah, I think
Meanwhile,
this is
in
the
far
right
province
power
of
for them,
Judea,
right?
a local religious figure named Jesus of Nazareth is arrested by local authorities and handed over to the Roman administration. He is executed for causing unrest and refusing to acknowledge
important
Roman
yet,
authority
but I think we
in the
got-
way
it will
expected
become a
of him.
problem.
The execution is routine and crucifixion is standard Roman punishment. As far as the empire is concerned, this all is a minor provincial matter, barely even worth recording, and Rome moves on. When Emperor Tiberius eventually dies in 37 AD, the balance of power
Flipping.
inside Rome was already
he slip?
distorted. The
was
Praetorian
he
Guard
slip?
actively starts playing a key role in
I think
ensuring
this,
the next
supposed
emperor
to mean he
supports
was
their wishes and
slip
desires. They
out of
choose
office.
Caligula, a great-grandson
Ah,
of
you-
Emperor
I've
Augustus.
heard of him, of
At
course.
first he does what
Crazy
they
is
expect
what
him
I
to
will-
do, but
and
long
offer him.
story short, because I don't want to cover all, 90 emperors Rome had in full detail, Emperor Caligula gets a bit too cocky. So, the Praetorian Guard simply kill the emperor, and on the spot immediately select a replacement themselves. They find Caligula's uncle, Claudius, and declare him the new emperor. Needless to say, Rome has now crossed yet another line. The emperor
But I mean,
is no
you
longer
have like we just learned you have like a standing army. I mean, as long as you're in Rome, you have some problems with the Praetorians, but couldn't you just go out, get your army, go back to Rome, and get rid of them? Or probably there's a reason why you couldn't do that easily. But I feel like if I know they are this powerful, despite me being the emperor, I would try to do something against them. And I mean, you have to be careful because if if they found out before you're finished, you're finished. And yeah, I wonder if that would happen, that somebody get rid
Chosen
of
by
them.
tradition, legitimacy, or public consensus. He is chosen by the soldiers standing closest to him. Emperor Claudius turns out to be more competent than expected, since he expands the empire, strengthens administration, and keeps the system functioning. But the precedent remains. Everyone now understands that the Praetorian Guard is not just a protective force, it's the ruling force. After Claudius, power passes to Augustus's great-great-grandson, Nero. Nero is obsessed with personal image, and is careless about his power. He's basically the complete opposite of the legendary first
Nero, you
emperor.
also
He
know.
caused rebellions, a financial collapse, and half of Rome burned down during
Yeah, but
his
I
reign.
think
The
it is not fully his fault. I mean, I think I've heard that he wasn't even there when it burned down. I mean, there's like telling that he was the one setting it on fire, but I think he wasn't even there when it happened. He was outside the city, somewhere else, and then he came back when it happened and tried to secure funds to rebuild the city.
Senate and
Pretty
the
fast.
army lose confidence in him, and those who
Probably
actually matter
still
if they
bad,
support you or not,
terrible
the
leader, but
Praetorian
yeah.
Guard, ended up also giving up their support, which basically means your time is up. Nero flees Rome, and as it's clear he's going to get arrested and executed, he takes his own life. And with Nero's passing in the year 68, we not only end the Julius Caesar dynasty reign, but also end in the very chaotic year of 69. Very nice. Also known as the year of the Four Emperors. 4 men claim and sit on the throne in a single year. Not because they are great leaders, but because different armies across the empire back
pretty
different
much
candidates.
that
One
people
emperor
probably,
gets
right?
murdered, another one gets overthrown,
Yeah.
another rules for a few months. Civil war breaks out across the entire empire. Legions that were supposed to defend borders are now actively marching on each other. Eventually, one man wins,
Probably with the
Vespasian.
strongest
Not
army,
because
right?
he is charismatic, not because he is loved, but because he has the strongest army. He restores order, mostly by force, and hands the empire to his sons afterwards. So yay, Rome survives. But now everyone yet again knows the truth about emperor legitimacy. Because if you control the army,
Was it the
you
army or
control
was it the
Rome,
Praetorian
no
Guard?
matter how
Or
bad
are
of a leader
they
you
already
are.
getting rid of?
Naturally, for the next century, emperors rise and drop dead like flies every other week. It is
I will look into that,
extremely
because,
chaotic and
like,
not
they
that
jump over it, but
interesting because it
would be
just comes
interesting.
down to this emperor bad. He gets killed. This emperor a bit better, but the Praetorian Guard don't like him, so he is also killed, etc, etc, etc. So just to summarize the next century, here are a couple highlights. In the year 117, under Emperor Trajan, the Roman Empire reaches
Trajan,
its
I know,
historical peak, with the capture of what is
From
nowadays
civilization.
Romania, Jordan and Armenia. In 193 AD, the Praetorian Guard, who are yes still in power even 200 years later,
Still.
literally sell the title
I mean, why
of emperor
didn't
to the
anyone
highest
do
bidder.
something
Emperor
against them and get rid of
Julianus
them?
ended up reigning for just 66 days until he got executed in the palace
Not
by
a good deal
another
for him,
general,
I think.
aka the next emperor. And in the beginning of the 3rd century, Christianity started to spread like crazy. And that was annoying for the Roman elite. Christians refused to worship Roman gods and instead worshipped, well, the Christian god. But that wasn't the only crisis they faced. The whole 3rd century was hell for the Roman Empire.
Yeah,
Emperors went from
thinking now it's like the beginning of the end for Rome.
switching monthly to weekly, and most die violently. The empire nearly fractures into separate
I mean, at this point, why would you still want to become even an emperor? I mean, if I know I will die within days, months, weeks, I wouldn't even try to get emperor, because what's your benefit out of that?
states. Germanic invasions hit the west, while Persian armies press from the east. Meanwhile, massive plagues tear through cities, and hyperinflation destroys the economy. Sounds like 2020 all over again. I can't make it clear enough. It was a chaotic mess. And eventually, one emperor accepts the obvious. The empire is just too big, too unstable,
Smart
too
decision,
complex to be
actually, yeah.
ruled the old way. So he makes a radical change. He chops the empire into pieces. He creates the Tetrarchy, the rule of 4. 2 senior emperors, 2 juniors. And on top of that, emperors now live in border cities to be close to the action. And Rome literally gets abandoned just like that.
But I feel they
It's
will
still
fight
there, but
against
the
each
power of
other
the
then.
empire is now at the front among 4 of them. After that genius emperor retires to grow cabbages, yes, he really
Really?
did. The
I mean,
rule of 4
what's his name? I feel like this is a really, really wise man.
turns into a battle royale. Who would have guessed? The winner is Constantine. He somehow reunites the empire, but he doesn't move back into the old Roman office. He's seen the future, and the future
probably
was
found
in the
Constantinople,
East. In
right?
330 AD, he built Constantinople. It's built on a massive choke point between Europe and Asia. It's richer than Rome, easier to defend, and crucially, it's built as a Christian city. No more old school pagan garbage. Christianity is now the legalized new cool thing. Though the empire is whole, in reality the split into East and West had already settled in. All the rich and intellectual people followed the emperor to the Greek-speaking world, while in Rome the Latin-speaking folks were left behind as a ghost province. And I know this is a bit of a hot take, but at this point the Byzantine Empire is real. Some people like to call it the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Empire, but that's lame.
But I feel like, I mean, it is right. I mean, they are not really Roman anymore. They speak Greek. They are Greek, but I think they probably see themselves as a. I feel like it's all about what the people believe, what they are, and I feel like they see themselves as Roman, as a Roman Empire, and I think there isn't even the term Byzantine. I think it's a new term, not used by them. So I feel like it's okay to use that.
They don't even speak Latin like the Westerners, or live anywhere close to Rome, you know, the Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman part of the empire, at this point in history, evolved in the Byzantine Empire. And that is a hill I'm willing to die on. You can sue me in the comment section. Anyway, if you don't think that is when the Byzantine Empire started, this moment might have, because the split between East and West became finalized when an emperor who died in 395 AD split his empire between his two sons. Classic mistake, and both administrations immediately ceased working together. Rome is officially no longer Rome. By the early 5th century, the non-Byzantine, aka Western Roman Empire, is laughably weak.
And now we get like the what's the English term for Völkerwanderung? People wandering from east to west and fleeing from Mongols, I think.
And often ruled by foreign kings.
I don't know.
It was time to put it out of its misery. It was time for the final blow. And yeah, if you're watching this video with your political uncle who has no filter, you might want to click off now, because he is most likely going to quote what happens now each Thanksgiving dinner till there is no tomorrow. You ready? The blow that ended the Roman Empire once and for all was uncontrolled immigration. Introducing the last villains for today.
The Huns,
not the Mongols. They exploded out of the Eurasian steppe in the late 4th century, and they were so dangerous that they single-handedly caused mass migrations towards Europe. When the Huns smashed into...
There's a German folk tale that plays right in this time called the Nibelungen, Song of the Nibelungs, where you talk about these people, the gods, I think, going from east to west, and even dealing with the Huns in this
Goths,
legend.
North of the Danube. The Goths very intellectually decide to not stand still and die, so they run. And where do they run? Across the Roman border. Tens of thousands of Goths show up at the Danube asking for asylum. Rome lets them in. On paper, this is manageable, but in reality, corrupt Roman officials starve and exploit them so badly that the Goths revolt. As a direct result, 2 years later, a Roman army is destroyed and the emperor is killed on the battlefield by the half of them.
Later.
That moment is important because after the events of Adrianople, everyone learned something Rome never wanted to teach. If you bring a whole nation into your borders and you can't control them, you are not integrating them, you are just importing your future civil war. So the Western Roman Empire starts doing what it will keep doing until it dies. Making deals with armed groups it can't defeat. Here's some land, please just stop burning us. It calms them for a bit, but greed can never be satisfied. And no, it doesn't stop with the Goths. Once the border breaks psychologically, the chain reaction begins. More groups move. Some are fleeing the Huns, some are just following opportunity. The Vandals go on a rampage across the west and eventually take North Africa, which is catastrophic, because North Africa is where the West gets grain and money. Lose Africa, lose Texas. Lose Texas, lose soldiers. Lose soldiers? Yeah, good luck. In 410, the Visigoths return from last video and sack Rome. Not because Rome is militarily important, but because it's really funny. Then once the Huns are defeated, Rome the city gets sacked again in 455, because why not? And by 476, when the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, who has literally the most ironic name for this moment, since he is both named Romulus, the name of the founder
That's
of
really
Rome,
great.
and
That's
Augustulus,
incredible
named after the first
coincidence.
emperor. Anyway, yeah, he
Coincidence,
basically
but yeah.
got politely asked by his Germanic commander to stop being emperor, and then the Roman Empire is dead. Yeah, sorry guys, no epic final battle or anything, just emperor fatigue.
But this is like from a nowadays perspective, you can say that. But I feel like in this time, people didn't. It wasn't that sudden of the death of the Roman Empire. I mean, it had declined since years, and even after this official end, you could call it, is the people still in the local areas lived under Roman rules and local Roman authorities and bishops from Rome. And for many, the things haven't really that much changed in this transition, because it happens really over centuries. And people always talk about the fall of Rome, but that wasn't really a fall of Rome. It wasn't a specific date or some 2-3 years. It was centuries, like I said. And yeah, maybe I'll listen what
To
you
be
have to say, then I have
realistic
something
about
to
the Eastern and Western Roman divide, the term Byzantine is made up by modern historians.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
what I
you
meant.
asked everyone back then if the Roman Empire is really dead, they would probably say, no dumbass, it's right there. But this video is long enough already and my pizza is getting cold. If you really want to know what happened to them, the Eastern Roman Byzantines survived for a whopping 1,000 additional years, and fought like crazy to survive. They slowly lost more and more territory to Persians, Arabs, Crusaders, and finally to the fearsome Ottomans, till only this...
Yeah, and it fall in 1453, which really is important for people say that's the end of the... Some people say it's the end of the medieval times. Yeah, but what he's forgetting is there's the Holy Roman Empire, which is basically today's Germany and some parts in the south, later until Sicily even. And not only do they take the Roman structures, which have been in Germany, like the cities, for example, like Cologne and I think, yeah, a lot of Ringsburg, I think, was one. And they also see themselves as the continuity of the Roman Empire. They don't see themselves as like a new empire, a second Rome. They see themselves really the emperors of Rome, of the Roman Empire, but in Holy Christian Empire. Because there is like this teaching from the church that there are 4 big empires before the end of the world. So 4 empires and then it's the end of the world. And Rome is the first one. And if you admit that Rome has fallen, you basically say the end of the world is coming soon. So they see themselves, they crown themselves as Emperor of Rome or Roman Empire. They don't really sit anymore in Rome because it's difficult because the emperor is traveling most of the time through his huge empire. But yeah, so from nowadays perspective, they're more clear to say when ends and what starts when. But for the people, it's not that clear, and I think a lot of people felt still as part of the Roman Empire, but not really Rome-centric. But this is only because of our view. We see Rome as this Roman-centric, from the city of Rome-centric. Yeah. But yeah, that was a lot of talking. I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed the series. I loved this. My first deep dive into Roman history. I knew some things. I learned a lot of things as well. And a lot of things I want to look into. For example, the Praetorian Guard and a lot of that emperors. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope you see you in the next video. Goodbye, guys.